Cooper, a basketball game can turn just like that. Had Syracuse made that shot with 1 second on the shot clock, 11 seconds left in the game, who knows? Syracuse would be up 3. Clemson might be forced to take a three-point shot, rush shot. Who knows? We could have had a whole different result, but instead, you saw that rebound, got out in transition, and suddenly Clemson's out running, and Syracuse can't do anything behind to stop it. And I found it really interesting. Both coaches in the post-game press conference actually talked about how it's strange to say, but perhaps a shot clock violation actually would have helped Syracuse in that case. You might be saying, what? How is that possible? Well, if a shot clock violation had occurred, Syracuse could have set up its own defense, maybe put a little pressure, a little trap on Clemson, and that could have changed the ballgame. Instead, Clemson goes out running, Clyde Trapp slips out behind the Syracuse defense, and that's all she wrote. Well, it's hard to say there's any kind of play that could really change momentum in a 35-point loss, but I looked at DeVito's interception in the third quarter right near the goal line. Trevor Lawrence had just thrown his own interception, and Syracuse had a prime opportunity, a chance to go back, cut into that 11-point deficit from the halftime, and instead, DeVito throws his own interception. He had a chance to make it 17-13, but instead, he had a man wide open in the end zone, threw it a little bit late, and we've seen time and time again, he tried to force that ball in there, and it was picked right back off. That could really deflated everyone in the stadium. You could feel it. That was the best chance Syracuse had going forward. And then right soon after, that 87-yard touchdown I just mentioned happened. And from that point on, you could pretty much tell Syracuse was out of this game. They say you come at the king, you best not miss. And for Syracuse, a second chance was all they needed to knock off the defending national champions, beating number 18 Virginia 63-55 on the road in overtime on Saturday. And for Coach Boeheim, he said the team had been getting good looks. They just had to finally hit them.
You know, we have to make shots, and you know, in the second half, I thought we got good shots. You know, I thought Buddy and Joe and Elijah got the shots that we are going to have to make. And the overtime, they got those same shots and they made them. And, you know, when you make those shots, that's for us to win. We have to make those shots.
I think it's just making shots. You know, those shots, whether it's early or not, you know, you can make them. You gotta take them. So we got a lot of shooters, a lot of scorers on the team, and you're bound to go in. So you should keep shooting them.
That's a huge win. I mean, that's still a really good team. They just beat Virginia Tech by 15-20. So I mean, that's still a really good team, and you know, we just gotta get ready now for Wednesday. It's a big win, but we still gotta get out of this hole that we're in, and you know, one game at a time is all that matters. So it's a big win, but can't let it get too in our heads.
Syracuse hopes this upset will light a spark that turns around its season, and that turnaround continues on Wednesday when they host Boston College at 6:30. Reporting from John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville, Virginia, Sean Scott, Citrus TV. Jacob, I'm not worried about Joe Girard because we saw tonight he has the ability to hit from deep. Yes, he only made 2 deep three-pointers, but they were incredibly far away from the basket. I was sitting there behind the camera, and all I could say was just, wow. I mean, I was in disbelief at the kind of range this guy has. And so if you're a Syracuse fan, you want him taking those shots because Joe Girard has the confidence he can hit those kind of shots. And so eventually he's going to break out of this cold shooting slump because he is a good shooter. And when that happens, world, watch out in ACC play because this man is something special. He reminds me a lot of like a Kobe Bryant. He's not afraid to take any shot possible. Doesn't matter how hard it looks. He'll take it from anywhere on the court. And if I'm running a basketball team, I want that kind of guy taking those shots. It was the first sellout in almost 20 years, but the Orange faithful go home unhappy tonight as Syracuse falls to number 1 Clemson 41-6. The Orange offense never got in a rhythm as they were harassed all night by that Clemson defense, but Coach Dino Babers says he still has faith in his guys to improve down the stretch. Well, Clemson definitely attacked right away when they saw that opening. And right away, as soon as Dolezaj and Sidibe both fouled out, Syracuse had to turn to Jesse Edwards, a little used freshman. And Jim Boeheim has said over and over again that guy is just not ready for a big-time moment. This was a big-time moment, and once again, he was not ready. He contributed nothing offensively, added just a couple fouls on the defense. And so Clemson, attacked over and over there, and that really became the turning point in those last 10 minutes of the half. Coming up in sports, Syracuse football has had a bumpy road this season, but they had a chance to right the ship down in Tallahassee and grab a big road win versus Florida State. I'll tell you if the road trip was a trick or a treat for the Orange. Don't go anywhere. Basketball, lacrosse, and football, oh my. From national awards to the season opener to National Signing Day, we'll have all your coverage coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere. Coming up in sports, it's February, and Syracuse basketball fans know what that means. Bubble Watch. A big ACC bubble battle went down last night in the Carrier Dome. We'll let you know whose bubble burst and who is staying afloat for a little while longer. Don't go anywhere. And keeping the road theme going, Syracuse men's lacrosse also preparing to hit the road this weekend, and they will do so for the first time this season. But they will take with them a shiny new accomplishment, and that is the #1 ranking in the coaches poll. The Orange are ranked as the top team in the country for the first time since 2017. They will look to defend that top spot as they travel down to Baltimore to face rival Johns Hopkins. The Blue Jays are just 1-3 on the season, but head coach John Desko says Hopkins is always a tough team to face.
There were a lot of guys that back in the day when we won our first championship in '83, it was kind of the turning point for Syracuse lacrosse, and it was against Hopkins. And I think Hopkins, they always remembered that day. And since then, teams have been in national championships and always competed very highly.
Now, Sean, like the coach said, John Hopkins is a tough team to beat. What are your predictions for this game?
So, yeah, Desko, he actually compared them to the Georgetown of lacrosse. That goes to show how big this rivalry is in lacrosse. Look, the big news also coming out of today was that Nick Mellon, the star defenseman for Syracuse, still not ready to play. He will miss this game, but the Syracuse defense has shown they're able to limit these offenses so far. Hopkins been blown out their last 2 games. I think Syracuse will still win on the road, defend that top ranking.
Let's take it back to basketball. How far do you think the women can go in the ACC tournament?
Okay, let me say this. The ACC, Syracuse has been a very average team. 9-9, 15-14 overall. Don't expect this team to win the ACC tournament or anything, but if they can get past Virginia, I think they can pull off another upset against Louisville. They've shown they have the talent. They beat Louisville. They beat Florida State as well earlier in the season. So they have the ability to do so, and I think they can pull one off.
All right, you heard it here. Sean Scott has a lot of faith in the Orange. And when we come back, we'll have one last look at your weather.
And during Saturday's game, Syracuse football honored one of its own. SU retired defensive end Tim Green's number 72 jersey in a special halftime ceremony. Almost a year ago, Green publicly announced he was fighting ALS, a severe neurological disease. Green and his family were on the field for the jersey retirement and held up a framed jersey as the number 72 was raised to the rafters of the dome. Green's son, Troy, read an acceptance speech to the crowd that read in part, quote, "I was, am, and always will be one of you. God bless you all and go Orange." Green played for the Orange from 1982 to 1985 and was an All-American in his senior season. Green remains the school's all-time career sack leader with 45.5 sacks, and Green's 72 is just the 6th number to be retired in Syracuse football history. And in women's soccer, the Orange drew with Fordham 0-0 at home on Sunday. The Orange outshot the Rams 23-9, including 7 more shots on goal, but none found the back of the net. Goalie Lizzie Ann Pruill recorded her 3rd shutout of the season, and the Orange have yet to allow a goal at home all year. Now, Syracuse has not scored in 5 straight matches, but they do get a chance to snap that drought on Friday when they play at Pittsburgh for the ACC opener. And Syracuse volleyball has been off to a slow start this season. After making its first ever NCAA tournament last year, the Orange entered the weekend winless on the young season. The team spent its weekend in the Sunflower State playing 3 matches as part of the Kansas Invitational. The Orange fell in the first 2 games of the weekend, losing to Morehead State and Arizona. On Sunday, however, SU earned its first win of the season, a 3-set sweep of the host team Kansas to improve to 1-4. The Orange look to make it 2 in a row on Friday when they travel to Boston to play Northeastern.
Our sports reporter, Sean Scott. Sean, thank you. Now, I don't want to hit the panic button on the Syracuse football season just yet. What can they do to turn the page next week? It's
got to improve the tackling. You saw a little bit in those highlights. Missed tackles will doom a team, and Clemson took advantage. You got to improve that against Western Michigan.
You really do. We're looking to see some better tackling and a better performance overall from the Syracuse Orange.
Syracuse football has endured a sea of bad news through ACC play. Entering the weekend, the Orange were 0-3 in conference, and just hours before the game against Florida State, news broke that graduate transfer offensive lineman Ryan Alexander had left the team. But as they say, the show must go on, and the show went on to Tallahassee. You see right here, Chief Osceola and his horse Renegade getting things started, one of the great traditions in the sport of football. But it'd be Florida State that starts it off early here. Cam Akers runs in for a 23-yard touchdown. Seminoles go up 6-0 early, and we'd hear a lot from Cam Akers in this one, including the very next drive. Cam Akers goes in for his 2nd touchdown of the day. FSU goes up 13-0 just halfway through the first quarter. Now a little bit of trickery here. Hornibrook, the quarterback, throws to Akers, and he's going to throw it right back to his quarterback. And then left wide open on the sideline is going to be his receiver, Terry Tamorian, who's going to go practically untouched down the sideline, 54 yards. Not quite a touchdown for the Seminoles, but enough damage done. The Orange defense gives up another big play on defense, and it sets up none other than, yep, you guessed it, Cam Akers once again. He's going to buy his time, get to the edge of the sideline, and then he go, whoop, dive right into the end zone for a touchdown. His 3rd of the day. It's 21-3 at that point. And then just once more for good measure in the 3rd quarter, out of the Wildcat, his 4th touchdown goes up 28-3. Syracuse never had a chance. They lose 35-17 in this one. And despite the more mental mistakes, Dino Baber says he still has faith in his team to make the right plays.
I think they're getting out there and they want to win so bad, and they want to do well so bad. that they jump, they move. They make a mental mistake they've done it right 1,000 times. You know, when we try something, they've done it right a bunch of times before we're going to take a chance during the game. And we have a lot of confidence that they're going to do it right in the game. And then they blank.
And basketball is back on the hill, well, unofficially. Syracuse began its 2019-2020 season with an exhibition against Damon College on Saturday. The Orange beat the Wildcats 90-71 thanks to Elijah Hughes' 24 points. Blythewood, South Carolina native Robert Braswell added 17 of his own and had 3 of the team's 15 made three-pointers. Syracuse plays one final exhibition game against Carleton University tomorrow night before the season begins officially on November 6th. And as the new year starts, we have breaking news for the 2021 season. Kadari Richmond, a 6'5" forward from Brewster Academy, New Hampshire, has committed to the Orange. He's the second recruit to join the Orange from the 2020 class, and he joins Buddy Boeheim as Syracuse players from Brewster Academy.
Representatives from Syracuse Athletics have also added to the conversation surrounding the hashtag #NotAgainSU movement. Sports anchor Sean Scott is in studio to explain who has expressed their support. Sean?
Guys, the hashtag #NotAgainSU sit-in first began on Wednesday, the same day Syracuse men's basketball played against Colgate. Head coach Jim Boeheim was the first to address the incidents on campus, prompting others to speak out as well.
Wise. I've always felt that. And what happened in that situation, that could be one complete moron. Could be a non-student, right? We don't know. And you can't go and blame the whole university for what could be 1 or 2 people.
After Wednesday's game, Boeheim visited the hashtag #NotAgainSU sit-in on Saturday to readdress his support for the protesters and express his support of student athletes participating in the protest.
If they support, they will get my thank you for supporting this university and working with this university.
Senior running back Mo Neal is one of those student athletes who have visited the protest.
Yeah, I went to the sit-in and just try to gain as much information as I can, because obviously it's a serious thing.
And Neal is not alone in wanting to share support for what the protesters stand for.
I feel like, you have to be the change you want to be. So in respect to the protests and everything, there's things that happen that don't seem like they're right, you know what I'm saying? And there's ways that we go about things. So if people want to see different changes, they got to be the change, and I respect the protest that's happening.
Football head coach Dino Babers and women's basketball head coach Quinn Hillsman also added statements of support after their games on Saturday. Jack and Carmela, back to you. After snapping a 2-game losing streak over the weekend with a win against Wake Forest, Syracuse looked to make it 2 wins in a row against another team from North Carolina, the NC State Wolfpack. The game was a pivotal matchup for NCAA tournament hopes. ESPN had the Wolfpack listed as one of the next 4 teams out of the tournament, with the Orange not too far behind them. Early on, Joe Girard getting some shots up, and he would play a big role in this one, but the big story would be Elijah Hughes, the second leading scorer in the ACC, injured himself in warm-ups. He would play a couple minutes and then miss the rest of the game, so it's up to Girard to carry the Orange. He's going to make that one early on. Syracuse with a slim lead, but NC State, like most opponents have done to the Orange, attacked down low. There was a dunk in transition, and then a little bit later, another dunk. NC State up 8 early in this one, but Girard would finally cut into that NC State lead. NC State only up 2 at that point, but then a half-court alley-oop puts the Wolfpack up by 4 at the half, 39-35. In the second half, that's when Joe Girard really starts to take over. He's going to drive, get into the rim. He's going to absorb some contact and gets the bucket. No foul call, but he doesn't need it. And then once again, he's going to drive, hit a tough shot, part of a 30-point career-high performance for the freshman. And finally, someone other than Girard does something for Syracuse. It's Marek Dolezaj. He gets the bucket in the foul. Syracuse up 5, but down the stretch, it's NC State making the plays needed to win this ball game. They're going to take the lead right there on that shot, and then the dagger. C.J. Bryce with the 3 puts NC State up 7. They go on to win 79-74 the final, and after the game, Coach Boeheim said he was proud of his team's effort while missing its star.
I thought these guys battled as hard as you could ask them to battle. Joe made some really big plays to keep us in it. Marek got some opportunities. He's just not finishing the way he can. But when you lose your best player, one of the 3 or 4 best players in the league, without being able to practice, it's difficult. But they did everything they could. We got right back in it.
It's still a few days until Syracuse men's lacrosse hits the field again, but the Orange are still receiving some national recognition from a 21-14 victory over Colgate. Last Friday, redshirt senior attack Stephen Rafis has been named to the United States Intercollegiate Lacrosse Association Team of the Week. Rafis tallied 8 points against Colgate, including 7 assists. He becomes just the 10th player in school history to record 7 or more assists in one game. Rafis and the rest of the Orange will be back in action on Saturday when Syracuse hosts Binghamton. However, one player who will not be playing for the Orange this weekend, preseason All-American defender Nick Mellon. The senior appeared to suffer a lower body injury against Colgate, and earlier today, head coach John Desko confirmed Mellon is week to week and will not play versus Binghamton. Here's the head coach talking about the impact Mellon's absence will have.
Yeah, it's it's always going to be an adjustment. You've got somebody that's been your top cover guy for a number of years now, and that was always a comforting thing that Nick could most times go out and take the other team's best attackman out of the game. But Kennedy's been getting better and better, and we're going to look at. We've got to go week by week now, and we've got to find some other guys and rotate them down low. So it hurts our depth there some.
Now, Sean, after games like last night, I've given up on Syracuse men's basketball, and football wasn't that great either.
No.
So does this injury mean that the lacrosse season is going to be tough too?
Well, thankfully, this injury does not sound that serious, and they're playing a team in Binghamton, which is not, frankly, all that good. So if he can just sit out, get a little healthy, I think they'll be fine. This team still has plenty of talent, from Chase Scanlon to Stephen Rafis, we heard about, made the national team. So I think lacrosse will still be fine down the stretch.
All right, thank you so much.
Syracuse was looking to move to 5-0 on the road in ACC play and extend its season-high 5-game winning streak. But a trip to the Palmetto State on Tuesday night provided no Southern hospitality as the Orange fall to the Clemson Tigers 71-70 on Clyde Trapp Jr.'s game-winning layup with 2.3 seconds left. But down the stretch for the Orange, it wasn't who was on the court, it was who was sitting right here. Marek Dolezaj and Barama Sidibe both fouled out of this game with more than 4 minutes remaining, and Clemson took advantage. For head coach Jim Boeheim, he said missing a guy like Dolezaj made all the difference.
Marek is key for us, and him being in foul trouble hurt, but that happens sometimes. But it was an unbelievable effort, and they made the last play.
He's a little more aggressive to the ball, sometimes too aggressive, and got some cheek ones here and there that he can't pick up, he can't afford it. He knows that, and it puts us in a difficult spot because in at times you got to put, especially Brahma as well, you got to put in 2 freshmen playing in an environment like this that they've probably never been in their life, and it's difficult for them.
Next up, the Orange look to get back in the win column on Saturday when they host the hated Duke Blue Devils at 8 p.m. Reporting from Little John Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina, Sean Scott, Citrus TV.